Hey, everybody, it's Doug Green, and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News. And I'm very pleased to have with us Ryan Kahan of CallCabinet. Ryan, thank you for joining us today.
Good to be here, Doug.
Well, we regularly, of course, report on Call Cabinet. I've done some recent podcasts, but Ryan, it's been a little while, but since you and I actually got together for a podcast, so I'm excited that we're able to get everyone updated on Call Cabinet today.
Looking forward to it.
Well, it's been a busy year for you guys. You're just off of a round of shows. You've been adding things to the platform, and I want to just update all of our readers and listeners on what you guys are doing. Yeah, give me a good overall view of the Call Cabinet cross platform and the integrations that you have today.
Yeah, so Doug, I think that as a company, what we're trying to do is meet the needs of our customers, most of which are in the enterprise slash carrier space, and look to bring them one solution that sort of ticks all of the boxes that they have. So whether that be different deployment types, obviously our primary deployment is a cloud software as a service model, but we also support on-premise and hybrid type deployments depending on needs, and then allowing them to have a platform that supports every type of telephony integration that they have. So whether it be an old trunk or an analog line from our old days to all of the latest integrations, whether it's via Zoom, Cisco, Teams, just to mention a few. It's one recording platform, one pane of glass view of all of that data, consolidated in one place, meeting all of the customers' global needs as far as compliance is concerned or data sovereignty, and having everything in one place. So one place to manage security, one place to view your calls, play back your calls.
I think I'd like to stay on this point for a minute because I think this is so important, and it's such a central idea that you guys have been focused on for many years. Because in the real world, especially with the big enterprises, it's sort of, I don't want to use the word messy, but it's complex, maybe, right? Banks merge with other banks, hotels merge with, and so you end up with these networks, to your point, that are really diverse, that consist of the latest stuff, but also legacy stuff, and it's all got to work together. So what you're saying is the experience is the same across all these really different places.
Absolutely. I mean, if you consider, you mentioned the last time we met, which I think was probably 7, 8 years ago, pre-COVID. We were. I was just looking at some of the notes, and we were speaking at that stage about Skype for Business. And in that pre-COVID world, customers or companies typically had a telephony system. They deployed Cisco, they deployed Avaya, whatever it is that they deployed.
Right.
Come post-COVID, and everything's changed. They still have the on-prem telephony system, but now they're also using Teams or Cisco for other parts of their business. Contact center maybe using Avaya. It's completely different. It's a new world completely. So the customer or the companies no longer have a single platform. They have multiple platforms. And the more more ways they can do to consolidate that information in our world, the better. So we have customers that are recording everything from Bloomberg turrets to Avaya contact centers to to Cisco, to Teams, and they record all of that stuff, but there's one place for their compliance data. They log in, they can see exactly what calls were recorded across all the platforms. They can see and easily identify what calls were of which platforms, and then assign the permissions and policies and controls that are needed to manage that on a global scale. So just to drive that home a little further, you could have a customer with a contact center using Avaya in Germany and making sure that those calls are stored within Germany, and then have a business unit out of the US or Australia and having those calls stored in those locations. But ultimately, when they log in or a user logs in, it's seamless. They can see all of the calls, regardless of where they were recorded or where they were stored, and be able to play them back from that single user interface or single pane of glass.
So, Ryan, another thing that's happened since we last met, in this type of format anyways, is a growing complexity of regulatory compliance.
For sure. So it's really interesting. When we started this business, and certainly, we've been chatting about this business for the past 10, 11 years already. But when we started, the challenges were convincing customers that they should be in the cloud or they should move to the cloud. And I remember having the argument about what's safer, your data in the cloud or in a server room where someone can walk in, pick up the server, and walk out the back door. And the challenges back then were more around how do we find the bandwidth to upload all of the recordings to the internet? And our early versions of our solution allowed customers to schedule the uploads to times when maybe their bandwidth wasn't being used. Today's world is completely different. The amount of compliance requirements, across industries, and just compliance, security compliance within our existing customers is another world altogether. We spend a huge amount of time making sure that our products and our solutions meet the leading edge compliance requirements, both regulatory and security. So from the fact that we last year became ISO 27001 certified, to all of the security that we're now keeping in place and constantly updating and growing to stay ahead and to make sure that we provide our customers with the most advanced security solutions, staying ahead of the latest trends.
Yeah, let's talk about that because even a decade ago, security was a big deal, but now it's so much more fraught with danger.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a new security risk literally every day, and if you don't have the policies and the procedures that something like ISO 27001 brings into the business, I think you're going to be in trouble. And it also becomes exceedingly difficult to answer the security questions that are required by customers. Customers are no longer, we're happy with the stuff in the cloud. Now there's questionnaires that are 20, 30 pages long that go into huge amounts of detail as to where data is being stored, how it's being stored, is it secure? Because customers need to make sure as well they're no longer listening to people saying, the stuff's secure. We know for sure that that's not the case.
Well, Ryan, I want to thank you for joining me today. This has been a great update, a big overview on the integrations issue, regulatory, compliance, security. Where can people explore more and get a little bit deeper into these things?
Our website is CallCabinet.com, and we obviously cover pretty much our entire product set there. So I'd invite them to go look at what we do. Certainly look into some of our new AI and analytics offerings. There have been a lot of changes in that space, and we'd love to hear from them.
Ryan, again, thank you very much indeed. I hope we don't make it another 8 years between now and our next podcast, but thank you for joining me today.
You got it. Thank you, Dad.